Hello, Commanders! For those of you that have already entered at least Season 1 of Doomsday, a lot of focus goes into this event. Doomsday is one of the biggest events and starts to introduce more and more stuff to your base so that it can become stronger and stronger. As you progress through the events, you will start to see a lot of diversion in the way the game is played and individualized strengths and weaknesses of even the toughest opponents. With a lot of people starting their own new seasons, whatever season that may be for you, I have been getting a lot of comments and questions as to tiling and so many other things. For today's video, we're going to go over how tiling works, how to increase your immunity, and when and how to obtain higher level tiles when your immunity is not at 100%. Remember, like the video if you like the video, subscribe for more content, look for those lives, and really let's get into the meat and potatoes of this, because there's some of this stuff as you're going to know, and some of this is going to be new. But for those of you who have seen this channel before, you know that I don't like to just say do this and this is what's going to happen. That takes the fun out of logically thinking for yourselves, learning the details of the game and enjoying things by improving each time. This video is not going to be any different. Keep in mind, this is going to show you how to do things and what aspects will help you accomplish that goal. From there, you'll have the tools necessary to think for yourselves and play around to find out what you like and what works for you. The reason I do that, not only as I stated, but also because many people are spread across many different seasons and have different access to different resources. You can easily find APC hero setup charts with a single click. Most of those focus around Season X heroes, and as a beginner, you probably won't see them for quite some time. So what can you do in the meantime? Guess? Hope and pray? It's not really a smart way to go about it, and learning how it works will do more for you in the long run. So let's start off with tiling. Keep in mind, each season will have different parameters for immunity and tile taking. No two seasons will be alike. So while you can get to a level 16 tile in Season 1 within a month, Season 3 is going to be much more difficult to obtain, and higher levels of immunity are required. So tiling is the basic taking of a square on the map and claiming it as your own. There are various levels of tile, and the higher tiles are harder to take. It's pretty simplistic. Each square of the map will have a virus. Think of walking around in radiation. Some areas will have more radiation than others. If you don't have the proper protection suit on, you can get sick and die faster with higher levels of radiation around. Immunity is sort of like your protection suit. You increase your immunity through either using specialty skill points or by turning polluted materials into antibody serums to upgrade your immunity centers. The higher the level of the center, the more immunity you get. You get polluted materials by taking certain tiles that have resources on them and then harvesting them and placing them in the processing facility to be able to use them, and then rinse, repeat, and continue on your day. This is the core concept of the Doomsday season. But what happens when you take a tile? When you go to take a tile, you enter into a battle. Now, this battle is not visible to you when you actually go to occupy the tile, but you can view it later through the reports that go through your email system. You can watch the battle, or you can get a simplified breakdown of the report. Battles for tiles are the same battle setups for duels, arena fights, sieges, etc. Your APC will face off against another APC. There will be 3 rows of troops in each APC. In the case of tiles, it'll be 3 rows of zombies, and you will have a hero leading them. In the tiling case, the leader will be a guardian boss. Now, every round, your squad immediately takes damage from the virus. Remember the radiation analogy. Imagine that your suit can protect you slightly, and after 10 minutes, you're going to die. This is the same for battles. As soon as a round starts, if you don't have full immunity, you will take damage equivalent to the tile damage level and the immunity that you have. Now, keep in mind, this is not going to be actual numbers, but let's say that you're going for a level 10 tile, but you have 28% immunity damage. You're going to take 28% of the damage the tile would normally give every round to each row of troops. And the higher the tile, the more damage it's going to do to you. So the most ideal situation is to take tiles that you have 100% immunity for. However, sometimes you don't have the option to have many of that type around you, or you want to get a jump start on getting more resources so that you can upgrade your stuff faster. This begs the question, how can I take a tile if I do not have 100% immunity? Let's bring the battles back again. Let's say you have 100% immunity. You're not going to take any damage before fighting, yet you still need to beat the Guardian boss and his troops. You will go through 8 rounds maximum with the Guardian boss's APC and still need to beat them in order to successfully win the tile. You can't just send your lowest troops and whatever heroes you want and expect to win because you have 100% immunity. There's a lot of factors that come down to it, such as heroes, hero level, skills, troops, troop type, strength, buffs. So much goes into this. So the majority are just small bonuses in a bucket. The main thing that will determine how successful your troops are will be your heroes grouping and skills. Generally, the faster you can win the battle, the less amount of troops you can lose. This is no different in Doomsday, which brings us to the point of understanding how to take higher level tiles with less immunity. Assuming you wish to take tiles that require more immunity than you have, the first thing we need to look at is the heroes. I'm going to borrow an example APC from another awesome, amazing Last Shelter creator, 24E, and his heroes combination list. Now, the LSS Discord, as well as 24E, you can gain access to new features, new heroes, guides, and so much more. Now, 24E focuses on more of the older states and the latest technologies, so his hero charts will primarily be focused more on Season X heroes rather than anyone else. Season X heroes are far superior to any you have at the beginning of the game, which is why learning to play the game and understanding the details is way more important in the beginning than later on. However, I digress. Let's look at the 24E Gaming's chart. We have a section for tile taking APCs. These APCs are going to be the better combinations for taking higher level tiles with lower immunity. I will take the lowest season grouping and I'll show you why this grouping can take higher level tiles easier than others. Let's look at the combination of Panther, Anastasia, and Ivanov. Now you have 2 Season 2 heroes and 1 Season 3 hero in a sea of Season X heroes. Why is this combination considered a tile killer when you primarily see Season X heroes throughout the entire chart? Let's look at these heroes first. Panther is going to be your front row. He's a support hero and he's going to be doing vehicles. The majority of his skills you can bypass. We're really only going to be focused on skills 2, 5, and 8. Those are the only ones we're going to be concerned with. And if we look at Panther's skills 2, 5, and 8, we can see a bit of a reason why he's been chosen to lead. His second skill immediately creates a buff for the entire APC that boosts normal attack damage and passive skill damage by 80%, and then after the first round, it reduces a quarter every round. In the beginning, you're going to get a massive increase to your normal attack damage and passive skill damage. Assuming you follow up with heroes that can also do good amounts of damage, this could be a benefit or a negative. So this is why the combinations are important. But let's continue on, because Panther alone cannot win a battle, and he's a support hero. He doesn't do anything other than normal attack damage. His fifth skill allows for 2 squads to have a 70% chance to enter a splash state. This means that every time a squad does an attack, any units behind it will receive 160% normal attack damage. It's like a wave. You hit the water and the waves ripple out. Now you can allow heroes to do damage to more than one target, whereas they would have only been able to hurt one target. The last combat skill states that for the first 3 rounds of battle, if the front row is vehicles, they have a 70% chance to enter counter-attack state. This means if activated, the units here can attack normally, but they have a chance to hit back at 250% when hit with normal damage. As you can see, Panther is a true support hero to the fullest. However, combined with the right heroes, his squad can do massive amounts of damage. Now he's in the front row because his skills don't require any combat skills and it doesn't require a certain amount of troops. You're more of a backup. You could be at 20 troops left in that front row, and the other 2 heroes and troops still have the same buffs and perks. Moving on to the next row, Anastasia. Anastasia is another vehicle support hero. Now, if you look at the chart, you will see that Anastasia can be swapped out with another hero, which means she is not as vital to the overall scheme as the other 2 are. But why would we choose Anastasia? If we look at skills 2, 5, and 8, which is the ones we're still looking at, we'll see that skill 2 has a chance to remove all debuffs of friendly shooters and vehicles, and basic attacks can cause suppression. We remember that suppression can prevent normal and combat attacks. So you are completely shutting down your opponent from doing any damage whatsoever. Both of these have a very low % of happening, but even having that opportunity is always a plus. Anastasia's 5th skill states that during the first 3 rounds, all friendly squads will get 100 increase to combat speed and a 70% chance to do 2 basic attacks on each turn. Now, this is the main skill of why she's being included into this. Not only is she increasing the combat speed of all the troops that are in this APC, which implies that they're going to be doing strikes right away, they're also going to do 2 basic attacks on each turn. Now, if you add that with Panther, you are going to have an increase of damage, and you're going to be able to do splash damage. So you are just doing tons of damage quick and fast. Look at her last one. It says that whenever 2 enemy squads take damage, they receive an extra 12% damage, which is not a lot, but it's a nice little addition in there. It's not a make or break, and it's not that horrible, but it does add into the let's kill all the troops as fast as possible method. Remember, Anastasia is not a very buff heavy or guaranteed to success hero, which is why she can be swapped out in this chart. However, her focus of increasing the combat speed and allowing 2 attacks per turn is the whole key to the reason why this APC is better. But let's go ahead and move on to the last hero here, Captain Ivanov. In your last row, he is a ranged vehicle hero. Now, Ivanov is primarily an attacker, and his 2nd, 5th, and 8th skills reflect that completely. His 2nd skill allows for a 40% chance to attack 1 squad with 2 hits at 348% damage each. His 5th skill has a 34% chance to deal 465 damage to 1 enemy and silencing them, which means they can't use combat skills. And his last skill increases his damage by 80%. Ivanov is the main damage dealer in this APC. Even though his success rate is very low, when his hits hit, he is doing a lot of damage to troops. Why is this formation a tile killer? This formation should kind of reflect how you should look at how to organize your APCs for tiles. Tiling is going to be different than sieges and should be treated as such. Sieges have many factors to them. You have to think about if there's any troops garrisoned, you have to think about any buffs, skills, the tower, etc., etc. Honor structures. same thing. Honor structures will require a more focus on demolition damage in order to destroy the structure faster. In the cases of sieges, any strong heroes will suffice. It's sort of like the arena or duels or anything of that nature. You want to try and beat the opponent's APC, and if that takes 8 rounds, it takes 8 rounds. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Your overall goal is just to win. It's not necessarily about minimizing your losses. And the same thing for honor structures. Your main goal is to destroy and do physical damage, not necessarily anything else. So you want to focus more on the troops rather than the actual heroes themselves. However, tiling is a much different beast. If you are going to tile with more infection than your immunity, you will automatically start to accrue damage, as we stated. Adding attacks to your troops on top of that will put a heavy toll on you. So the function here is to have an APC that can do the most amount of damage to troops as fast as possible. This does not mean marching speed. It doesn't matter if you can get to the target fast, but we're looking at combat speed, meaning you will be the first one to attack. As you can see, Panther will increase the amount of hurt it puts on its opponent. Ivanov is sort of that middle ground, and Anastasia will allow for your troops to strike first. So we're talking about an APC that can strike first in battle, deal out the most damage it could possibly do with the hopes of winning within the first round before the enemy even gets to hit you. That is why this APC is left here under the tile killer section for this chart in a sea of Season X heroes. Now, I hope that does explain the basics of it. Other factors do come into play. There's no one-size-fits-all answer. There's hero skills, APC parts, troop buffs, unity specialty skills, etc., etc., etc. All these things are very vital into taking the highest level tile possible. But generally speaking, I typically don't like to risk going for tiles unless I'm under a 50% infection rate, because even at this number, I'm still using some of my strongest APCs with the strongest troops, and you're still gonna lose troops no matter what. Remember, even if you have the top of the top and you can take a tile at 70% infection rate, you are still gonna have that APC come back with losses. Making sure that you have enough troops to replace those troops, either by creating more or healing them faster, is going to be another thing you need to think about. If you see people take very high level tiles that are outside their normal immunity range, do not assume that they're just taking them without a loss somewhere. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. If you're on a level 8 tile, but you can take a level 10 tile with a 58% infection rate, is that level 10 tile going to be worth it when you have to heal those troops for 14 hours? Or can you take 3 level 8s with no healing required? Which would be better? Now, that's a question that you have to answer for yourself. Your own play style is going to be up to you, but these are all things that you need to think about when you start looking at taking higher level tiles outside your range. Is it worth it to me to lose X amount of troops in order to gain this? They are not taking those tiles without a loss. Do not assume that that is happening. The second someone goes to take a tile outside of their immunity range, there is going to be some loss of troops. Now, that number varies based on APCs and all that other stuff, but they are taking a loss. So whether you want to heal the troops now or later, or you don't want to heal them at all, that's something you need to decide on. Remember, tiling is an important aspect of Doomsday. There is not always a rush to gain the highest level of tiles possible. There's a lot of priorities during the season that should be taken into consideration. Yes, tiling and getting those resources is very important in order to move up and gain more honor, but you need to know what it's going to cost you. If you wish to try and figure out which combinations work for you, I would start looking at the heroes you have and the abilities they have and try different things. Not all combinations will work, and some will work better than others. I would try not to always just go with what is on a chart. Even the creators of those charts are constantly trying new combinations to find different ways to have stronger APCs, and they're going off generalized information rather than including anything extra your base may have. Your base may have a main focus of increasing your troop might and defense, and that is not taken into consideration on these charts. There's a lot of things that you need to take in consideration when you go to follow charts in order to make APCs and not put any thought into it. The best tiling APCs are going to be the ones that are able to have fast combat attacks, deliver quick, powerful hits, and can take out as many troops as possible as fast as possible. Now, I hope this helps out a bit. I want to give a shout out to 24E for doing the work he does. 24E focuses more on the much more later on advanced stuff. I'm going to link his channel below. Remember, if you like the video, subscribe for more content, and most importantly, look out for each other, help each other, and be safe out there.